Well, that was a first prize winner from the Imaginer Forum in the scientific category. And with me to have a look at some of the other entries is Martin Lambie-Nairn, designer of some of the best-known animations on British television. Martin, what did you think to that animation there?
I think it's terrific, actually, because it's a sensible use of computers. If you want to say to a client, this is what we're going to build, the best thing is to build it, and that's what they've done. They built it on a computer, and in particular here they've put it in the actual place it's going to go, in the right environment. And that's particularly difficult, actually, mixing live action with computer animation.
Well, of course, computers are quite good at dealing with geometric shapes, aren't they?
Yes, they're very, that's their best thing, really, and so that's why architecture is often used with computers.
Well, you used computer animation for the Channel 4 logo, and you also used it for this one. It's a lovely piece of work.
Happiness is a cigar called Hamlet, a mild cigar.
Great. Tell me how you did it.
Well, of course, it was a piece of computer animation, but unlike other jobs we had tackled, this had to be funny. Now, up to that point, nobody had made a funny computer graphic sequence. And so we turned to traditional animation. And we got the whole job animated by hand, and then made into a line test, just like the sort of thing you see in Oscar's work. And then we took that along to the computer house and said, copy that. And the result of that was we got much more fluid movement, we got acting out of it, and we got character out of it. That's why it's funny.
Would you like to take us through developing an advert, for example, using computer animation techniques?
Yeah, certainly. Well, you start with the script, and you start with something like this, the storyboard. This one was for a Honeywell commercial that we did. And they asked us to produce them a commercial that looked as if it had been made by computers. So, first thing we had to do is characters. And we had 3 cracks at it. This was the first crack. We needed a boss character in it and a secretary, but this is the boss character. They regarded this as being far too pretty, far too designed. So we went away. This was too ugly. This they regarded as being in the right area. So we determined our characters. That's the first thing we do. Now, it'd be very nice to be able to just point a camera at all this and put it into the computer that way, but no, life isn't like that, I'm afraid. You have to do working drawings. And there were 15 of these working drawings. This is the character with all its elevations.
That's the businessman with his amazing suit.
That's right, yes, which sadly never got there in the end. It was never used. But all these coordinates are then fed into the computer by the computer operator, our computer animator. So, once that's in, we then have to get things to act. And again, we went back to traditional animation, or traditional animator, and got him to work with a computer animator. And together, they solved all the problems. So the result of it was that you got a piece of acting, you got a performance, not just a series of wooden figures walking
Well, we
around.
actually have a copy of that advert, so perhaps we could have a look at that and see what the end product really looked like.
If you had a Honeywell automated office, it would eat up paperwork and increase secretarial efficiency. It sends messages faster than Concorde and talks to other computers anywhere. Your business could be much more productive with office automation when it's designed well, built well, Honeywell.
Very nice. Well, you're a commercial designer, obviously used to working in limitations of budget and how much money you can spend, but at Imagine, a lot of the things were actually done as research projects. And we've got one here which is really rather nice. It's a piece of material, and it's to follow it as it's lifted up by the corners and shaken, and as it's hung over various objects. It's actually mathematically working out the lines of each of the threads and then contouring between the two of them. It's very realistic. What do you think to it?
I think it's a wonderful piece of research, and it's an amazingly clever piece of work. In fact, I could have used that very thing 2 months ago, I must say, on a commercial for a soap powder that we were involved in. But we had to, in the end, use a model because there was no way of doing it. But I'm very interested to see that.
Yes, it's very nice. Look at it shaking. Very clever piece of work there. Well, we've got another one here. It's really quite interesting because it's from the opening title sequence of Labyrinth, which is a film just been released in London. And it's done by Bill Croy, who's an ex-Disney animator. And what they did was did the complete rules for one complete wing flap on this owl, and they worked it out on a wireframe model, and then they went into great detail, almost every feather on the owl, to produce a very detailed effect of it flying, and they could view it from almost any angle and make it fly in any position that they want it to. And the sequence coming is very, very detailed. Very nice piece of work. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it is an amazingly clever piece of work, there's no doubt about it. But I find myself asking the question, why is it there? I mean, as a director, that's my job. Why? And I have to answer it as saying, well, why on earth didn't we shoot a real owl? I mean, what's it doing that's special? If you really
I wonder if they
something
can
really
actually make it land like the owl at the start of Micro Life, yes, for example.
Well, be a bit more relevant.
Well, perhaps the most obvious living creature is the human being, and people have been trying to imitate that. And this is a rather nice piece of computer graphics where the movements are very realistic.
Yes, this is a really difficult problem. Computer animators for a long time have been trying to solve this. This is to be viewed purely as a piece of research. And it's about the weight being distributed on the body and making it look heavy and solid. Heaven knows what it's pulling.
No, it's strange that.
Yeah.
Look at that jump, very realistic.
But again, we have a job that we need to do, which is going to need that kind of research.
Well, John Lasseter was a young designer, a young graphics designer at Disney, and he was very successful at Imagineer, in fact. This is one that's quite nice. It actually shows a bee, and he brought this was done in 1984, as a matter of fact, but it brought into some of the techniques he'd used in Disney, where he blurs the actual image on a computer to make it look as if it's moving extremely fast.
Well, here's a technique that's used sensibly. I mean, you need those wings to flap, and that's the way to do it. It's a charming piece of work.
Well, that won the overall third prize, and it's full of Walt Disney techniques. But John Lasseter also won the first prize with an amazing piece of film, and we actually have some of his working drawings, actually, as they were run live on the computer itself. And you can see this is the original character, this angle-poised lamp.
Yes, right. You see he's sort of developing the character. Here we have just the angle-poised lamp.
Those are the movements he can make at that point.
That's right. But now we start to see it become a character. That's that's really terrific.
It feels heavy and it feels very weighted, doesn't it? Now he's got to put a story and develop those characters, and we actually have a clip from the final winning entry. It really is a superb piece of graphics. A lot of humanity in that. It's difficult to believe it was generated entirely by computers.
Yes, absolutely, but that's great. That's a good point about it. I mean, who cares what it's generated by? It's an absolutely wonderful film. Gets my prize too.
Thank you very much, Martin.